Boxing Day wasn't about clicking for deals, queuing in the cold for sales, or endlessly scrolling through social media feeds. It was about waking up to freezing bedrooms, the lingering scent of yesterday's roast turkey, and dads disappearing to the football match, radio in hand. If you grew up in Britain during the 1960s or 1970s, this video will take you straight back to a time when Boxing Day was a quieter, slower affair, filled with simple traditions that have now all but vanished. From long cold walks after lunch and half-empty tins of Quality Street, to granddads dozing off in their armchairs and classic films that were shown just once a year, these are the moments that only kids from the 60s and 70s will truly remember. In this nostalgic trip down memory lane, we explore what Boxing Day really felt like back then, family traditions that shaped a generation, why Boxing Day was calmer than Christmas Day, simple pleasures modern kids will never know. The Boxing Day morning of today is a world away from the one we knew. There were no leisurely lines spent scrolling on a phone. The day began with the sharp, biting cold of an unheated bedroom, where you could often see your own breath hanging in the air. Staying tucked under the blankets for too long wasn't an option. The house wouldn't warm itself, and someone, usually dad, had the job of getting the coal fire going in the living room. That was the signal for everyone else to brave the chill, get dressed quickly, and head downstairs to huddle around the slowly growing warmth. Breakfast on Boxing Day was never a simple bowl of cereal. It was the first wave of Christmas leftovers, a tradition born from thrift and practicality. Cold, cooked turkey was sliced and stuffed between two pieces of white bread, sometimes with a dollop of piccalilli or leftover stuffing. Alternatively, you might be handed a plate of cold sausages from the day before. Or if Mum was feeling particularly energetic, she'd mash up the leftover potatoes and cabbage to make bubble and squeak, fried until it was crispy and brown. It was a hearty, no-nonsense start to the day that set the tone for the relaxed hours ahead. The entire house seemed to hold the memory of Christmas Day in its very scent. It was a unique and potent aroma, a mixture of roasted turkey, sage and onion stuffing, and rich gravy that had seeped into the furniture and curtains. This smell was often layered with the distinct, slightly oily fragrance of a paraffin heater working overtime in the hallway, or the faint whiff of smoke from the newly lit coal fire. It was the smell of contentment, of a family well-fed, a smell that told you the festivities weren't quite over yet. For many men, Boxing Day meant one thing: football. After a quick breakfast, dads, uncles, and granddads would wrap up in their thickest coats and scarves and head out the door. The Boxing Day fixture was a hallowed tradition, a chance to escape the house, meet up with mates, and stand on a packed, often freezing, terrace. The stadiums were filled to bursting, the atmosphere electric with cheers and the sound of rattles. For those left at home, the match commentary crackling from the radio was the soundtrack to the morning. With the men gone and the morning stretching out, it was time for the board games. Christmas Day was often too chaotic, but Boxing Day was perfect for a long, drawn-out game. Out came the battered boxes of Monopoly, Ludo, or Cluedo, their corners softened with age. Inevitably, a crucial piece would be missing: the dog from Monopoly, the lead piping from Cluedo, leading to creative substitutions with buttons or coins. These games were the source of immense fun but also intense family arguments, usually over accusations of cheating at Monopoly, or a particularly frustrating round of snakes and ladders. Unlike the mountains of gifts children often receive today, many of us had one best present that became the absolute focus of our attention. Christmas Day might have brought a few smaller stocking fillers, but Boxing Day was for truly getting to grips with that one treasured toy. Whether it was a new Cindy doll, an action man with his full kit, or a complex Scalextric set that took up half the living room floor, all our energy was devoted to it. We didn't need a dozen different things to keep us occupied. That single, special gift was our entire world. Boxing Day was also the time to show off the new clothes you'd received for Christmas. But there was a catch. That new jumper knitted by Gran, or the smart new pair of trousers, was usually designated for best. You'd be made to put them on for an hour or two, especially if visitors were expected and paraded around for inspection. But you were under strict instructions not to get them dirty. As soon as the guests left, it was straight back upstairs to change into your old clothes, and the new outfit was carefully folded and put away in a drawer, saved for another special occasion. The afternoon was often dedicated to visiting relatives, some of whom you only ever saw once a year. This wasn't a quick drive across town. It often involved a long, cold walk, or a journey on a rattling bus that seemed to stop at every corner. You'd arrive at the house of a great-aunt, or a distant cousin, where you'd be expected to be on your best behavior. The house would smell of sherry and potpourri, and UDB offered a glass of orange squash and a dry biscuit, while the adults caught up on a year's worth of news. Whether you were visiting family or not, one Boxing Day ritual was almost inescapable: the cold walk after lunch. "We're all going out for some fresh air," Mum or Dad would announce, and there was no arguing. Everyone would be bundled up in coats, hats, and scarves until you could barely move, and then marched out into the cold. It didn't matter if it was gray, drizzling, or bitterly frosty. The walk was non-negotiable. It was meant to blow the cobwebs away and make room for the evening's leftover buffet. Back at home, the tins of Christmas chocolates and biscuits were already showing significant gaps. The quality street tin, once heavy and promising, was now suspiciously light. All the best ones, the purple one, the green triangle, had long since been filed, leaving a sad collection of toffees and orange creams that nobody really wanted. The same fate befell the tins of roses and black magic. This relentless raiding, which had begun on Christmas Day, continued until only the unwanted dregs remained. A surprising number of people could still be seen wearing their paper hats from the Christmas crackers. By Boxing Day, they were no longer pristine. They sat at crooked angles, softened and slightly torn, a testament to the previous day's festivities. Seeing your dad or granddad still stubbornly wearing a flimsy paper crown while reading the newspaper or watching TV was a familiar and endearing sight, a sign that the Christmas spirit was lingering. Television on Boxing Day was a shared, communal experience, simply because there was so little choice. With only 1, 2, or later 3 channels, the whole family watched the same program together. There were no arguments over what to watch, because the schedule was set in stone. The Boxing Day specials, often a comedy show or a light entertainment program, felt like a major event precisely because it was all there was. Everyone gathered around the one television set in the living room, sharing the experience. Even more special than the TV shows were the films. In an age before streaming, video recorders, or even repeats, films were shown on television just once a year, and it was an event you couldn't miss. Classics like The Great Escape, The Wizard of Oz, or a festive family favorite would be the centerpiece of the evening's viewing. You knew that if you missed it, you might have to wait a whole year to see it again. This scarcity made the experience feel magical, and created a lasting memory for everyone watching. One of the biggest differences between then and now was the complete absence of the Boxing Day sales madness. The shops were shut. There were number 5 a.m. queues, no frantic rush for bargains, no thoughts of shopping at all. The high street was quiet and deserted. Boxing Day was a day of rest, for shopkeepers as much as for everyone else. It enforced a slower pace and ensured the day remained focused on family and relaxation, not consumerism. While the adults rested, the children took their new Christmas toys outside to test them out. New bikes with their stabilizers still attached wobbled unsteadily down the pavement. New footballs were kicked against garage doors, and roller skates with metal wheels scraped noisily on the icy ground. It didn't matter how cold or damp it was. The excitement of a new outdoor toy was more than enough to keep us warm. This was a common sight in every street, a chorus of happy noise and activity. As evening approached and thoughts turned to tea, tensions could rise over the last of the festive food. The final, perfect roast potato, the last remaining pig in a blanket, or the final slice of Christmas pudding could become the subject of a surprisingly serious family argument. With a house full of people who had been nibbling all day, these last coveted morsels were highly prized, and securing one was a victory in itself. By mid-afternoon, the combination of a big lunch, a glass or two of sherry or beer, and the warmth of the coal fire proved too much for many of the adults. One by one, they would succumb to drowsiness. Armchairs throughout the nation claimed their victims as dads, granddads, and uncles drifted off into a post-lunch slumber, a newspaper often spread across their chests. Their gentle snores became another part of the quiet, peaceful soundtrack of a Boxing Day afternoon. Unlike the swift tidying up that often happens today, the evidence of Christmas Day was allowed to linger. Piles of brightly colored wrapping paper were often just pushed into a corner of the living room, ready to be dealt with tomorrow. Empty boxes, ribbons, and stray pieces of tinsel littered the floor. This relaxed attitude towards mess was part of what made Boxing Day feel so different. The usual rules of household order were temporarily suspended. All these elements combined to create a day that felt noticeably different from the one before it. Christmas Day was full of high energy, excitement, anticipation, and chaos. Boxing Day was its calmer, quieter, and heavier sibling. The pace slowed right down, the atmosphere was more relaxed, and there was a sense of collective winding down. It was a day for resting, digesting, and simply being together without the pressure and frantic energy of Christmas itself. But beneath the calm, there was a subtle, creeping feeling of melancholy. As the evening drew in, and the last of the leftovers were eaten, you couldn't help but feel that Christmas was almost over. The return to school and the routine of normal life was just around the corner. That unique, magical bubble of the festive season was about to burst, and that gentle sadness was as much a part of Boxing Day as the cold turkey and the board games. Whether you're reliving your childhood or discovering how different life once was, this video captures the true spirit of a British Boxing Day from a bygone era. Like if you remember these days, comment with your own Boxing Day memories. Subscribe for more classic British nostalgia from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.